Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our last part of our series of a how-to guide for developing a publishable Scholarship of Teaching and Learning project. Today's presentation deals with presenting and publishing your educational research. I am Valerie O'Loughlin. First of all, this series is a result of my HAPS presidential initiative, expanding anatomy and physiology educational research in HAPS. And this president's initiative would not be possible without the generous donations of funds and resources from McGraw-Hill and Wiley. So I'd like to thank them both for being a President's Initiative sponsor. So today I'll be talking about presenting and publishing your educational research. Today's learning outcomes are as follows. By the end of this video, you should be able to identify appropriate venues for presenting your educational research. You should be able to list the journals that have published anatomy and physiology educational research articles. Compare and contrast these journals and determine which one of these may be the best fit for publishing your educational research. And then ultimately, you'll be able to map out a timeline for developing, implementing, and presenting your educational research. So let's begin first by talking about presenting your educational research. So you may ask, why should you present your educational research? And by the way, the photo you see here was from a regional conference, Human Anatomy and Physiology Society regional conference, where you see some poster presentations on educational research. First and foremost, you want to present your educational research to make your knowledge public and so that individuals can learn a bit about what you've learned about teaching and learning. And by doing so, you are contributing to the generalizable body of knowledge about teaching and learning. This also provides you with the opportunity to develop collaborators or to develop contacts with individuals about larger educational research issues. Perhaps there's someone who is looking at a similar topic that you are. Maybe you can do a multi-institution study. You won't know about those individuals unless you start to present your own educational research. Finally, a lot of you may be going up for promotion and/or tenure, and a lot of promotion decisions are based on what kind of teaching and scholarly activity you're doing. Educational research is the classic type of scholarly activity that can be used for promotion and tenure decisions. So in terms of what format should your presentation be, you may decide to do a poster presentation. This is a good way of getting your feet wet and by presenting your information in a less stressful setting. If you go to the Human Anatomy and Physiology Society meetings, we often have workshop presentations. So you have more of a hands-on type of presentation that you'd like to show. This is a great way of showcasing some of your work and interacting with colleagues. Or, of course, there is the more formal platform or oral presentation. Any or all of these are great venues to present your findings. So where do you begin with the whole process? Well, you may want to start out small. Your department or perhaps your smaller college may have a colloquium series, so you could present your findings to your colleagues in a relatively low-risk setting. They can provide you with some feedback, and then from there you can present at another type of format. Maybe your institution has an institution-based poster or workshop presentation for educational research projects or just research projects in general. That's one step up of the department colloquium series. You can go to a regional meeting. Within your state, there is a regional meeting that you could present, or a couple of states may have an education research consortium. And then finally, you can take a look at some of the national and international meetings about their workshop, poster, and oral presentation formats. So let me talk a little bit about some meetings that have a medical or anatomy and physiology education focus. You all are familiar with the Human Anatomy and Physiology Society. Obviously, we at HAPS have a strong education focus to our meetings. The experimental biology meetings that are held every March or April include a variety of individuals from the American Association of Anatomists, the American Physiological Society, and a couple of other scientific organizations. There are traditional bench research presentations, but there are also multiple education research presentations as well, so this is a much larger venue. The National Association of Biology Teachers also has both regional and national meetings you may want to consider attending. Same as International Association of Medical Science Educators, and the American Association of Clinical Anatomists have an annual meeting in summer, usually June or July. So let me talk a little bit about the HAPS meetings first. So in HAPS 2015, we will have our annual meeting in San Antonio, Texas. The annual meeting typically starts Saturday evening and runs through Wednesday. Usually it's offered late May, sometimes over Memorial Day weekend, sometimes the week before or the week after. The first 2 days are traditional platform presentations where we have update seminars and poster presentations. Second 2 days are spent doing workshop presentations. This is entirely anatomy and physiology education focused, and the meetings are held throughout the United States and in Canada. In addition to the annual meeting, HAPS also offers regional meetings. So if you don't have the budget or it doesn't fit in your timeline to attend the annual meeting, I strongly recommend you present your research at some of the regional meetings. These are smaller venues. Typically, we have at least 2 a year, sometimes 3 a year, and they're typically on a weekend so that they shouldn't interfere with your teaching schedule. Locations throughout the U.S., we typically try to have those meetings held in one of the 4 main regions that HAPS is located in, either the Central Region, Southern Region, Eastern, or Western Region. Don't forget some of the multidisciplinary Scholarship of Teaching and Learning meeting venues. These may not be solely anatomy and physiology focused, but by talking to individuals in multiple disciplines, you may come across an individual in a completely different discipline who may be looking at the same type of educational research topic that you are. So for example, there's the International Society for the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. You can both be a member of this society, plus they have their meetings usually in late fall each year. I've given you the URL to their site. The Lilly conferences on college and university teaching and learning, they have multiple regional as well as international conference sessions throughout the United States that you may want to consider presenting your research. And then for our Canadian colleagues, the Society for Teaching and Learning in Higher Education. It's a society based in Canada that is multidisciplinary for scholarship of teaching and learning. And I've given you the URLs for all of these groups. This is by no means an exhaustive list. This is just a couple of examples, but that should hopefully get you started. So right now I want you to pause and reflect. Pause this video and set a specific date and time of when you would like to present your research. Keep in mind that if a meeting is held in April, you may have to write up your abstract and submit it the December prior to that meeting. So you may have to plan to present at a meeting many months ahead of the meeting date. So now's a good time to think about when you want to present your research. Next, I'd like to talk about publishing your educational research. While presenting your educational research is great and fantastic, and you should definitely do that, you also want to publish your educational research so individuals who may not have had a chance to attend the meeting you attended can still reap some of the benefits of your knowledge and your wisdom from your educational research. So before you actually publish, obviously you have to prepare your educational research manuscript. You'll want to go back to the earlier parts of these videos, and since you've already reviewed the background literature, you'll be writing up your introduction that provides a summary of that background literature, and then you'll want to discuss in this manuscript about how your educational research project has contributed to the general body of knowledge about this particular topic. Again, make sure that your manuscript describes the sound methodology you use and that it uses and describes the valid and reliable measures of assessment that you determined in Part 3 of these video series. When you have your manuscript prepared and you're trying to decide where to publish, you'll want to review the table of contents as well as the author guidelines for particular journals to determine if your manuscript is appropriate and a good fit for that journal. So here I have the Anatomical Sciences Education website, and what's circled in blue here is the author guidelines. So if I click on this URL, this will take us to that particular table of contents. I can peruse the table of contents again and then see, does it look like some of these articles are a good fit for what I've discussed? And then if I click on the author guidelines, it gives me a whole bunch of information about the different types of articles that they have. There are some short communications, letters to the editor, research reports, and descriptive articles. So I'll want to look through this and then make sure that my manuscript is in the proper format. Have I cited the references appropriately in my manuscript? Do I use appropriate citation format? Are my tables formatted the way that the journal requests? Is there a page limit for the manuscript? So that way I don't make any common newbie mistakes with the journal. And then once I finally have my article in the proper format, if you click on Submit an Article, that will take you to their online submission base. And turnaround for most of these articles is very quick, and you should hear relatively soon about your manuscript article. Don't be surprised if they ask for some revisions prior to accepting your article. That's all par for the course. Now, in terms of journals that publish both anatomy and physiology educational research, include the following. We've got Advances in Physiology Education. This is an open, free access journal, so it has a wide audience base. And even though the title is Advances in Physiology Education, they publish both anatomy and physiology education research. There's Anatomical Sciences Education, which we just saw previously. And again, Anatomical Sciences Education isn't limited solely to publishing anatomy education articles. If it's a combined anatomy and physiology article, they will publish that as well. Clinical Anatomy is another journal that publishes anatomy and physiology educational research articles. Don't forget HAPS's HAPS Educator. That is published 3 times a year and publishes a variety of educational research. In terms of multidisciplinary journals that will also publish anatomy educational research articles, Journal on Excellence in College Teaching is one, Journal on Nursing Education, Medical Education, Medical Science Educator. So those are a variety of journals and by no means an exhaustive list. So we're now at the end of this video series. I want you to pause and reflect and map out a timeline for when you plan to develop, implement, present, and publish your future educational research project. If you want to learn more, you may want to check out HAPS Institute, and I've given you the URL there. HAPS Institute has a variety of courses, including Introduction to Educational Research Methods, that you can take a look at and get some more knowledge. You also may want to take a look at the National Academies Press. They have a variety of free open access publications, and you can download the PDF for free on a variety of educational research, scientific education articles, and then of course the HAPS annual and regional meetings. So this concludes this video series. Thank you very much for listening, and if you have any questions, by all means contact me. Thank you.